I like it. All right, everybody's
We're recording.
Well, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, good.
I'd like to welcome Christi Gillentine to the table.
Welcome.
Christi, this is Trent
Oh,
Pollard,
yes.
the one and
Yeah,
only.
pleasure to meet you.
Again.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. So tell us a little bit about, I hear you have a podcast.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
So the podcast is for industry professionals, realtors, mortgage people, insurance, people that are in the housing industry, who kind of want to be in the know in the Oklahoma market. I found that there's just not a lot of information out there. It's
Sure.
a lot of national stuff, and there's nowhere where we can really go and find that information. Now there's stats and, OREC and GTAR and stuff, but where do we get our news?
Right.
And so I'm just trying to get that information out there.
We get our news on the TV and from the other
Yeah.
people who are panicking.
Yeah, not me.
Right. Speaking of panicking, my biggest question is, what's the real on real estate? Where are we right now?
Is,
What does it
So
look like?
is her mic good? Yeah. Is it? Okay. I'm like paranoid because the way it's like sitting, but it sounds fine. All right. Sorry to interrupt
Oh,
the
you're
podcast.
good. You're good.
I mean, sir, his technical
It's uncut.
side.
It's Tulsa Uncut.
It is uncut. Okay, so where are we in real estate?
So like we were talking about earlier this week, we're sitting at probably like a 2019 market, which was a good market, right? But it feels like it's not great because we saw huge peaks in the last couple of years. Our sales are down a little bit. Our pendings are down a little bit, both in the 25, 30 plus range, but our inventory is still down over 15%.
Okay.
So essentially, things are going along, but people are having to dig in. Things are not coming as easy in this industry right now.
Okay, so I struggle with that because I hear a lot of people saying, like, just dig in, just go pound the pavement, just
Yeah.
go do this. But for a realtor, which there's a lot of agents that came in
Yeah.
right at COVID or just before COVID. And so that created a crazy market that we've not really seen before like that. And so now that the market is shifting into like the 2019, what we would call a
Right.
normal market, what does it mean? Like dig in, like what can they
Well,
do?
if you're a newer agent, right, and you did come in the last couple of years, the real estate market's going to look like you came in Candyland. I'll just be honest. You came in where everything was amazing and things were very easy. And that can feel very, very defeating and challenging for newer agents because that's not what they've experienced. And what we experience is honestly not anything that I've experienced in my 20 years in the industry either. So we can't go on like that forever, but it does mean a pivot. It does mean a pivot, and it means a different way of approaching work and how you approach your lead process.
Okay, so what does that kind of look like? Because I know that when we say things like a lead process, we're not talking about necessarily going and getting leads, because that's like the big thing that I
Correct.
hear a lot of people talking about is like, you need to get someone to get you leads. You need leads. But realistically, from what I see, that's not the necessary thing.
Right. No, so lead generation, and I think Elizabeth Rain said this best, is the best lead generation is whatever lead generation you're going to do. So that's going to look like different things for different people. That could be email marketing for one agent. That could be open houses. It could be new construction. It could be lots of different niches and things like that. But it's time for, I think, realtors to turn and look at 2023, take a look at what your goals are, and then basically we've got to work at that plan. So is that plan the kids' soccer team? Is that plan, your husband's work where they have tons and tons of, employees and you know a lot of people there? So what is that kind of niche for you?
Mm-hmm.
And then really putting it in your schedule. Every Monday I'm going to do X. And maybe I'm going to send them all emails. Maybe I'm going to do a video about the market, whatever it happens to be. But put a plan together and literally execute something every day in that plan.
Right. I think that's a thing, a lot of people are trying to do things that are outside of their wheelhouse of authenticity. And what I mean by that is if you suck on the phone, why are you going to sit at the phone and call 100 people?
Yeah.
Why would you torture yourself? And honestly, anyone else on the other line, because you're not going to be authentic and it's not an enjoyable experience.
Right.
And I mean, you can read a script, but I'm not going to answer to a robocall conversation, bro.
Yeah.
Like I'm just not. And so people don't think about like your kid, like you were saying, your kids go to ballet or they go to soccer, like do something that markets to that demographic. You're stuck in there listening. For me, I mean, we have cheer people. Like I talk about it every week, I think, literally. But like you're in there for 2.5 hours. Right. That's a lead source.
Absolutely. For me, my daughter played competitive soccer.
Right.
I had worked with a lot of family, that was in that. My son, one of my sons, he was in Boy Scouts. He's a Eagle Scout, and I worked with people in the scouting from that, so what are those places that you're already dealing with in your life, and how can you reach those people? And then come from contribution with that. It's not always like, hey, do you want to sell a house? That's like horrible.
Yeah. What could the conversation be? Like, I mean, really, if people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah. So if I'm calling you, right, we're just friends and I'm in real estate and you're not in real estate, and I'm just trying to find out if you have any need, I'm going to call you up. Hey, Lori, what's going on? We're going to have a conversation. Hey, I'm trying to reach my goal of selling or helping 2 families, whatever verbiage you want to use, this month. Who do you know that I can, reach out to?
Okay.
And then just start it that way. But always come from a place of contribution. How can you help them? If I'm talking to you and you're mentioning, gosh, my HOA, something about it, hey, I can grab that information for you. Let me send that to you.
Yeah.
And then follow up. Did you get it?
Yeah. And creating that
just being professional that way.
I think something simple that people could do. If agents came in like 2019, 2020, anyone could sell a house.
Yeah.
Like anybody could sell a house.
With a license, you're going to sell a house.
So if you have a couple years of experience now and you were in that market, you've got maybe you did like 25 transactions over the 3 years or whatever. Right. You should have a spreadsheet of every transaction you did.
Yeah.
The names of the people, their phone number, their email address, notes about them.
Right.
And you should, put yourself on a quarterly schedule to just text them.
Yeah.
And say, how's it going? How things? Don't even talk about real estate.
Right.
Just stay in touch, top of mind, all the time. But you have to be intentional about it. You can't just sit around like it's 2020 and
hope your phone rings. Just looking at it.
You can't do that.
Or relying on drip emails. I mean, no offense with drip emails, but like people are so bogged down with emails. I mean, if I was really wanting to embarrass myself, I would show you how many emails I have.
Oh yeah.
And it's not in my work email. Let me just be clear, in my private email. Yeah. But I mean, because every time I sign up for something like Acai, that place, like I want to get their discounts, so now they have me. I mean, like it's a problem. So text me.
What's your email?
And that is, something I think that agents have to deal with every day, is that 300 emails a day, probably. And most of them, 90% are just junk you don't need.
Yeah.
Getting through all that stuff.
Right.
I mean, my phone calls more with people trying to sell me things in order to help me find more leads or do more business than maybe it does from actual home buyers and sellers.
Oh, wow.
So, and I guarantee I'm not the only one that gets those calls. So they're probably getting 10, 12 calls a day from people trying to sell them leads. 80%, 90% of their emails are going to be just a time waste, a time suck. So for me, what really works is kind of getting ahead of my week. So I'll start on a Sunday. So when we're done here, I'm going to go home and I'm going to look at my goals for the week, and I'm going to figure out how I'm going to fit those in my schedule. And that could be, the stuff that we never get to. I'm going to da-da-da-da-da. What is that for you? Is that, again, if it's the phone calls and maybe you're never going to do it, well, stop putting it in your schedule like you're going to.
Right.
But what are those goals? And get them in my schedule, and then I work that plan. And then I have more intentional with that, and therefore I'm more likely to hit my goals at the end of the week than saying, okay, this is my goals or my tasks or whatever, but I don't have them on my schedule.
Right.
I don't have them in my to-do actually set in there.
Well, I was talking with a friend of mine last week, and, we were talking about how people, the problem is it shifts your mindset into such a negative space when you continuously break promises to yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like what you're saying, like we promise ourselves we're going to go to the gym at 5:30 in the morning, and then the thing goes off and we're like, oh my gosh, it's 24 degrees and it's snowing, I'm not going.
Yeah.
But like realistically, everyone knows that you can wake up, get on this cool little thing called YouTube, and YouTube you a workout if you can't get. But instead we just lie to ourselves, and then our brain starts going, nothing that this person says actually comes true. It was a whole thing.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but that was fun.
I think I think we talk about it all the time, and it's just like holding yourself accountable to the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
And don't just because you're feeling lazy that day, just don't do it. Like, even if you do a minor version of what you were supposed to do, that is at least still a small win.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
you've got to like convince yourself.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's really tough.
It is. And, you know, when you're in real estate, and I would assume it's like this on any part of it, if you're a mortgage person or if you're an insurance agent, it's very isolating. You're very much feeling like you're on your own island. I don't care if you are in a brokerage, and they're probably could be the most supportive brokerage in the world. It's your business. You're running it. And the answers and the solutions kind of lie upon you. And that could be really overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah.
Finding people to connect with, like on a mastermind level, people that are on your level or where you want to go, and kind of bouncing ideas off of them, things like that, I think are really important. Keep you engaged, keep you moving forward. It really feeds that energy.
So let's talk a little bit about that. There are a lot of agents out there who are single agents. Again, I go back to people getting their license during COVID because there was a huge boom.
Yeah.
We had like a baby boom in real estate.
Yeah.
Really, the numbers increased so dramatically. And they want to do it by themselves, and they're trying to do it by themselves, and they're finding themselves frustrated, but they don't want to go on a team because they don't want to pay this amount, or you've had a team, correct? Tell us a little bit about that, but then what are your thoughts on that? Because you probably see it a lot.
You know, teams, in my opinion, are the future of real estate. And I gave you this analogy, and I'll give it to the audience here, which is real estate now is a team sport. It just is. There's way too many hats to be worn, and not all of us wear every hat great. It's just a fact. I don't wear every hat great. None of us, you know, there's things that we are strong in and things that we are weak in. So when you have a team, you're kind of able to leverage that out a little bit. But when I say real estate is a team sport, if you have an individual agent and they're on the field trying to play this game, right? They're trying to play all the positions. They're trying to do all the things. A team comes in with all those players into play, and they're going to win every time. And the agents that are on their team are going to win every time. And I don't mean deals, but I mean successful, you know, in real estate, because you have support, you've got coaching, you've got systems, you've got hopefully lead sources coming from that too. But with that said, not every team is a great fit for every person. You know, not every team's going to give you the support you need. So it is important to find the right team. Yeah.
When people are out looking for teams, like where do they, you know, people are like, where do you begin? How do you start? Obviously they have to look within their brokerage if they're staying at their brokerage.
Yeah, if you want to stay in your brokerage, and that's a great idea. If you're going to stay in your brokerage, honestly, your best bet is to start with your broker. Go to your broker and say, this is what I want to do. Because in many brokerages, you know, they kind of have to have the blessing in order to recruit from internally.
Right.
And usually the broker will say, you know, sure, no problem. They may give them a couple names at that point to talk to. And then interview them just like you would, you know, a broker or anybody else. And you're interviewing to see, are we on the same mindset? Do we have the same goals? Is this something that is growth oriented, that in 10 years or 5 years, whatever, I'm going to be able to hook my caboose to this amazing train, and we're going to get there together.
Right.
So giving up a portion is a lot better than giving up all of it when you can't get something done.
Right. My thing is they're like, you know, some people be like, well, I don't want to give 20%, or I don't want to give 10%, or I don't want to give. I'm like, but you're getting nothing now, bro. Like, I don't understand. Like, if they send you 4 deals and you have to give 20%, that's 4 deals you didn't have in your pipeline.
True.
Like, I'm not a mathematician by any means, but
and the experience is invaluable too. So
absolutely,
you know, learning and just getting transactions under your belt with some leadership rather than just being on your own. And you know,
your deals are going to be less likely to fall apart.
Yes.
You're going to have more likely to have more deals. Honestly, statistically, with the 918 home team, we were able to bring in $1 to $2 million producers and have them at $5 to $6 million within a 2-year period.
It's amazing.
that is
Right.
awesome.
And if you do the math on that, if they would have just kept doing $2 million a year, they're not making.
They're making 100% of that, sure, right? But they're not. You know, I guarantee you, 75 or whatever the percentage is on 4 to 5 million is a whole lot better than 100% on 2.
Yeah. Plus the repetition of just doing more deals.
Exactly.
and learning, because
Exactly.
no deals are ever going to be the same. So my thing is,
Yeah.
a lot of time when, are you knocking my stuff over there?
my bad.
A lot of times when you're on a team, you also get, no deal is ever the same. And so my
Yeah.
thing is a lot of times when you're with these teams, you also have other people you can lean on that have probably experienced it. So you're less likely to have a big whoopsie daisy
Right.
that can cost you or your client a lot of money, time, and
Yeah.
frustration.
Yeah.
So there's always that. How did you even get into real estate? Have you?
So
How'd that work?
I had a business before this. I had I became a mom, and I had my son. He was planned, and I was going to be a writer. I was going to be a writer, and I was going to write books. Well, I immediately got pregnant with twins.
What kind of books?
I wanted to do fiction, honestly.
Really?
Right? And but then I had twins. I had 3 kids in 11 months. My oldest was not walking when they were born, but I still had a goal to publish a book by the time I was 30.
Wait, can we go back? Hold on. So you had a kid who wasn't walking?
No,
And
he was
then,
11 months old.
And then
The
had
twins were at
twins.
his first birthday.
Man.
Can you imagine three not walking? Or like
Yeah, in diapers, all of it, all
no,
of
no,
it.
no,
No.
ma'am.
That's a lot
Pre-driving
of
all at the
legs.
same
That's
time.
that's a storybook right there.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, go back.
But I've always been pretty, driven. So I was like, well, I'm gonna be a stay-at-home mom, but I'm gonna do this, right? So I started it. Well, I can't do fiction writing. I can't even think 2 thoughts together because I have 3 babies at home. So that's out the window. And so I pivoted really quick into food writing, and I had a cookbook published when I was 27, and then I was like, okay, let's sell this cookbook, right?
Is it still available?
It is. It's out
What's it
there.
called?
Freezer Cooking on a Budget. So it's part of this whole line of books that this publisher did. And once I did it, I realized, okay, now I got to sell a book. Well, you can't travel when you have 3 infants at home. Yeah. So I kind of put myself into a corner, but I was young, and I had to pivot. I'm like, okay. So I started doing the publicity work for the other authors in this company that they were putting books out for, and did that for a while. And, it was pretty good, but I was never going to be able to scale. Never going to be able to scale on my own with kids at home and this type of thing. So I kind of looked at other businesses, took about 9 months, and really researched real estate. Before I got into the real estate, I probably read 30 books about real estate.
Oh, wow.
I had a 20-page business plan because I did have a partner coming in, a different partner at that time. I'm kind of thorough that way.
Wow, yeah. I feel like most agents are like, I'm going to get my license and then
See what happens.
see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people who are like, I just want to be a real estate agent because I like to have my own
So,
schedule.
yeah.
I mean, that's really a thing, but unfortunately, your schedule is usually dictated by everyone else's things.
Right.
But
Yes.
Right.
anyway.
So it was me and this other mom, and this was in 2004. So between us, we had 7 kids under 10, and we were able to sell 22 homes that year.
Wow.
Just because of the business plan, worked the
Yeah.
plan. She, unfortunately, it wasn't a fit for her. She left the business, and I kind of did my own thing for a minute, and still had the team concept in mind. I needed leverage. I wanted to be with my kids, not this whole flexible schedule thing, right? I wanted to make money, but I also knew that I wanted to do things with my family, and for me, the team was the only way to do that.
Okay.
And so I started the 918 home team, and we did that in 2009. And I would say that I was able to, I didn't miss a game. I didn't miss a play. I didn't miss any of those things. We were still number 1 in the market. Everybody on the team made money,
Sure.
So it was a win-win for everybody.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So that wasn't created in the, people like to talk about the housing crisis of 2008. That was
No.
the year
Yes,
after.
exactly.
Okay.
So I was here. I was in that. And funnily, when Ryan and I were at a different brokerage at that time, and during 2000 and probably middle of 2009, we would go to the sales meetings, and it was always like doom and gloom. Nobody's buying houses. Nobody's selling houses. And we're like, but we're selling houses. Like, it could be done. It could be done. So it's just finding solutions,
Yeah.
really digging in and finding solutions for
I
people.
think that's the interesting thing is we're so quick to jump to the negative of like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, the market is, and I'm like, guys, we talk about that. Like, the market is stable. You
Yeah.
don't want the rates to be, at an all-time low forever.
They can't be.
It puts us into an economic crisis for real,
If
though.
not, none of us would ever be able to afford a house.
Right.
Because the housing would go up so
So
exponentially that we could literally not buy a house. Houses that were 300,000 could be 1.2.
And
Right.
rates,
at a certain point.
I feel like rates aren't high either. I feel like people got used to 2 and 3%
That's
interest
exactly
rates.
it.
Right
We
now,
got
what are they at?
spoiled.
Like
Yeah.
6 right now?
Just under
Just
six
under
last week.
6, just under 6. As a matter of fact, this month in January, we had a 27% surge in mortgage applications. So
Locally?
yeah, no, this is nationwide. People are
Nationwide?
coming back. People are applying. They're coming back. As soon as those interest rates dropped, they came
They're
back.
like, it's under 6. Everybody run to the bank,
Yeah.
get your mortgage.
For realtors, my thought is just wait it out. They will
Yeah.
calm down, and this will become the new normal. As it
But
should
don't
be.
wait. My thing is, but don't wait it out. Don't be the person who wants to wait it out and be like, I'm just going to sit back and see if it gets to 4.
Yeah.
It's not.
No.
The reality is it's probably not. I mean, I'm not a fortune teller and I'm really not a lender, but I'm saying it's probably not.
Yeah.
You can buy the points down, I guess, if you want to spend your money
You
doing
can,
that.
and there's pluses and minuses to that too. Because if they do drop, then you've already paid in advance all that interest, so that could be a risk as well. But I would just say right now, find solutions for people.
Yeah.
People still have to buy or sell homes. Back in 2008, the biggest problem was people moving out of state for jobs that could not sell their home, but had to sell their home. Okay, well, you can't get it sold, and you need to move. What are the solutions? So we opened up a property management company at that point and kind of worked with those guys that way. And then in the last 2 years, they came back and said, okay, we're done now. They never really wanted to be a landlord.
Right.
So they were able to come out of the market on top and be done with it.
I think that we've seen such an increase. I don't know, because I wasn't necessarily in the industry during the 08, 09, those dates, but the rise of Airbnbs has created such a great solution to people who are in that situation. Like, okay, I'll just flip it into Airbnb mode.
Right.
Like, let's have a party now.
That is super fascinating, and it's kind of new too.
Yeah.
Like the last 4 or 5 years, it's become really popular. Do you think that property values will go down?
I don't.
You think they'll kind of hold?
I think they're going to hold. We were at the top of our market, but I don't think they were overly inflated. If you look at the curve over the last 20 years with 2008 taken into account, this is nationwide, we would be where we're at naturally had 2008 not happened. It just would have gotten us there. We just happened to catch up to it in most of the last 2 years.
Interesting.
So with that being said, and then you have in 2008, you had a majority of people were underwater and they owed more than the house was worth. So we had the foreclosures, we had ARMs, we had things like this. We don't have that now. Most people have equity in their home, a lot of equity in their home. They have low interest rates. And so the problem that we're seeing is a lack of inventory. So the lack of inventory is going to continuously keep those prices kind of tight, right? Because there's just not a lot out there. And I don't know. I mean, we're seeing it come up a little bit, but we're still not seeing our inventory at a normal level.
I have a question for you. What do you think is causing that lack of inventory?
I think that if I'm a homeowner, right, and I bought and I got 2, 3, 4%, and my home appreciated in the last 5 years like crazy, I'm going to stay where I'm at. Maybe I'll take equity out, revamp whatever I want inside, and stay there.
I feel like
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I bought in 2019. My interest rate's like 3.5, I think. And I don't see myself doing anything.
Exactly. So when the time comes, here's what I think. I think when the time comes that people like yourself and myself in that situation, maybe at that point we're going to do assumable loans or something. Somebody can come in and maybe buy your interest rate. We may see more of that in the future.
Oh,
That's
is that a
still, that's coming back to our market. It is still very new, but from what I'm hearing, it is starting to happen a little bit.
So explain,
I'm not a mortgage lender either,
okay,
right?
But can we table that for the
Can
lender?
we Google it?
But here's what I know. So essentially a buyer can come in and assume that mortgage with that interest rate, but they have to qualify just like anything else.
Okay.
But there are some caveats to it. How much of the equity are you going to have to get a second mortgage to, cover tons of equity or something like that? But the best thing you can do is when you're talking to your lender, getting that pre-approval, ask those questions, and then when you're working with your agent, make sure they're asking those questions of the other agent, because it's possible you could get a dang good deal, 2.5% or 3%.
In a
I
situation,
just looked it up. It said you can also save money on closing costs, and you just assume their mortgage for their house.
Yep.
Wow. Especially if you close a Titan title. Just kidding. And there's a quick plug. What? We have to do that. Wow. That's actually does it benefit the seller at all?
It does, because it's going to be a selling tool.
Okay.
Right? So if you're a seller and everybody else out there doesn't have this option and can't provide this amazing mortgage rate, your house it's a more desirable, because somebody's can potentially get in there easier.
Do you want to sell your house?
I'm fascinated by this.
Right? We're going to be on here Googling this all
So
night
someone
long.
can assume your mortgage.
Yeah, this was really big in the 80s when interest rates were
Really?
like 18%.
Yeah.
And people wanted the lower interest rates. Yeah, they didn't want to take the market rate of 18%.
Interesting.
So
when
it
they
says here, if the price of the home exceeds the remaining mortgage, the buyer must provide a down payment for the difference between the two.
That's what I was saying.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if
you know,
there's $100,000 in equity, they would have to come in, assume what you owe
and
plus
then come up
the
with
equity.
Plus the
100,000.
equity, yes.
Yeah.
They would have to pay.
Wow.
Not
the
necessarily.
No, no,
pay.
they would have
could
a
get
down
loan
payment for the
it.
equity.
Maybe that loan is at a higher
Okay.
interest rate, but there's ways to structure that
Oh,
around.
okay.
Yeah.
I wonder how that would look.
I love so basically you still get the check at closing as the seller for whatever equity.
Yep.
Man, that's kind of a dope plan.
So
I
this
know.
is, these are solutions that agents need to be thinking about right now, right?
Yeah.
What's out there, and literally just kind of like writing them down. What are different solutions, and as you're talking to people, they're going to come to you, right?
Right.
Let's talk about assumable loan. Let's talk about whatever it happens to be.
Sure.
But as you're kind of writing those solutions down, an Airbnb, you can have those conversations with the clients and kind of help guide them through that.
Yeah. So let's fast forward a little bit to your podcast. What is the name of your podcast?
Oh, it's Oklahoma Real Estate Radio.
Oklahoma Real Estate Radio.
Nice.
And you're on which platform?
So I'm on all the platforms. You can basically find it anywhere, and then YouTube, TikTok, of course, all the social media places too.
So let me ask you the question of the hour. Can I get a drum roll? Can I get something cool?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, there we go. No, has doing the podcast impacted in any way your business, positive, negative, and if so, what?
So my podcast is for the real estate community.
Sure.
So it's not trying to get me leads. This
Right.
is not a lead source generator. This is something I put together as I'm seeing the struggle bus that's happening in our industry.
Yeah.
And what I am finding out is realtors are coming to me and they're asking me what do I do? Yeah. I've had a lot of that.
I think it's it's scary, for a new realtor. I can only imagine, and it's a hard industry really to navigate because you don't know your way. I mean, yes, you pass the test, but there is no guidebook, and you're going to your classes and all these trainings and all these things, but practicality of how to get out there. And most of them are like, I need to make a paycheck.
Right.
I need to get this
Right.
moving, and they don't even know where to start. And so you creating a space where it's talked about, it's not a secret.
No.
And helping the industry, helping a new agent helps the industry as a whole stay viable and knowledgeable. I mean, there's nothing worse than probably going through a transaction with someone who absolutely has no idea what's going on.
It's not bad if they say, I have no idea what's going on. Can you help me
Sure.
through this? It's bad when they have no idea what's going on and they think they do.
Yeah. That doesn't happen, does it?
No, never. Not in this business.
So have you enjoyed it though, as far as doing the podcast?
I have. And I started a Facebook group called 918 Realtors, 918 Realtors Coaching Community. And it's really just kind of the same thing. It's an outreach. Trying to just provide information as I come across it. I'll do masterminds, on Zoom, and just trying to help these guys navigate
Is there
these
a
water.
fee for the agents?
Totally free.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in real estate?
20 years.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you've seen a lot of things.
I've
and
seen
done
it
a-
all. No, I haven't seen it all. I really haven't.
But a lot of things. So are you doing this probably more than anything Like as far as in the real estate, this is kind of your focus right now is let's get this.
And of course, new construction, that is my passion. And because of the lack of housing that we have, you know, that this is going to be a big part of our market as we move forward.
How is the new construction going?
New construction is coming. I mean, it's coming up everywhere.
What areas are buzzing right now? What are you seeing?
Broken Arrow's huge, Bixby. You've got Verdigris, you've got Claremore stuff coming up. Wow. I mean, it's kind of all over right now.
Are you seeing anything out west, really?
Yeah, Sand Springs. Actually, my builder, I work with D.R. Horton. Okay. We've got a community by the lake in Manford. So we've got, I think, 1 acre home sites out there.
Is it actually like a lake community, like you can see the lake?
Right. I don't know for sure if you can see the lake, but they're right up close in that area. Okay. Yeah. I think it's called Lake Country, actually, the neighborhood.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Didn't know that was happening.
Cool. Yeah. And that is something that has helped me build my business. You know, even I had my team and I've done these things. I started new construction as far as focusing on that in 2013, and it's been very, very well. It's done very well.
How long is it taking to get a home? Do you
know? When we had all those crazy supply chain issues, I mean, some of these builders were coming up on a year on some of these things. Yeah. But D.R. Horton, 4 months, 5 months.
Sure.
That's not bad.
Yeah, there's still some that are longer. It just really depends, you know, but it's back to the reasonable time. Yeah. It's not back to these crazy delays that we've seen in the past couple of years.
What can people build for per square foot roughly right now? Like 160.
It really depends on the neighborhood and the area. Question. Yeah, it really depends. You know, the area that you're going to go into is really going to dictate your price point because that's the lot price. The lot price really dictates the end of the end product.
Yeah,
price.
You buy a $100,000 lot or a $250,000 lot.
Exactly,
makes a big difference.
Are they that expensive?
Some of them are.
Get out of here.
I mean, but those are going to be more of your luxury homes. Your average lot, you know, I would say an absolutely low price is maybe $75,000, maybe up to 120, 150. That would be pretty high too.
Okay, so this is going to age me a little bit, but do you remember when? Look, I'm asking her. It's going to age me, but do you remember too? So I'm not the only old one here. When it was more like in the 35 and 40s.
Oh yeah,
like all day long.
Here's the deal. My first house I bought when I was 24 years old is less than the car I drive now. So
wow. And what kind of car? No, I'm just kidding. We won't put you on like that.
You know, prices, when people say, buyers say to realtors, you know, I want a house in this price point. And I say, well, we're going to need a time machine, you know, to get back to that. So,
So personal question time. Did any of your kids follow in your footsteps in real estate in the industry at all?
So ironically, no. My daughter has worked for me for many, many years, and she's amazing, amazing. But she's going to be going to law school here in the spring.
Wow,
so,
that's
Tulsa.
awesome.
Yeah, probably real estate law.
Hey.
Like reading abstracts and what have you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, she would have had she not pivoted to that.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Cool. Yeah.
And so she starts her first semester?
She'll be in the spring semester. Yep, up to you.
Very cool. Yep. That's pretty dope.
Nice. Yeah. That is awesome.
I have a question for you. I'm just going back to real estate real fast. I'm curious what you think the market is going to look like in, let's say, 18 to 24 months. Like, if you could give us a snapshot of how inventory looks, is it a buyer's market?
No pressure.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Right?
I'm kind
Where's
of
the
honestly, you know, again, I don't have a crystal ball, and I ask this question all the time on my podcast. So it's funny that I'm getting asked this question because now I know. I know what it feels like. But based on what I'm seeing, based on that inventory is tricking up a little bit, but it's still very low. We're still over 15% below what we should be. And interest rates are coming back down. There's still plenty of buyer pool out there. I would say the market should look really good in 18 to 24 months. That's my opinion.
Wow.
For both.
For both.
Yeah. You know, if we can get it, when we're talking about inventory, an even market is six months of inventory, right?
We're not even close to that, are we?
6 months of inventory means that buyers and sellers are negotiating. You know, it's an even thing. Anything less than that, you're in a seller's market. Anything more than that, you're in a buyer's market. Right now, we're sitting at 1.35 months of inventory. So we're definitely in a seller's market.
For a while, we were less than a month, though.
Yeah.
So we're making progress.
Exactly. So
Good
we've got
Lord.
quite a while before we hit that 6-month mark. That we had quite a while before we
Yeah.
can even be in an even market. So
So that does mean it is a seller's market. So
Yeah.
if people are looking to sell now, is still a great time.
people may think it's not a seller's market because they're not getting 30 offers on a house. Right?
To me,
That
that's
doesn't-
to me, that's a seller's market. Listen, I don't want to look at 30 offers. Okay.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't.
Exactly.
No, that is really interesting though.
Yeah, I remember those days. 30 off. I would be like surprised that my business was even like operating. People are like, "Are you sure you want
Yeah.
photos?" Because
It's gonna
Because
be
it's gonna
sold
sell in
by
5
I don't think
noon.
you need
Yeah.
one.
How
I
many
appreciate it.
cancellations did you have on photo? Did that happen?
It happened pretty often. Yeah.
Oh, it was insane. Like we would have a schedule. Look, we would have to schedule things within 24 hours of when they call us, and
Yeah.
we were just hurrying out there because we knew if we said, we're too busy today, we got to get to you in 2 days. The house is sold with 30 offers for like 30 over asking.
Yeah, we had to really
Yeah.
adjust and kind of adapt to that market
Right.
as a media company. We had to be like, we need to try to get people out there the next day, or if we can pull it off the same day.
Yeah.
And realtors were always like, really? Okay,
Yeah.
heck yeah. So yeah. And then we had
I
to
think
kinda-
it's people have like literally. I think people have PTSD from that, like just from that situation. Like all of us in the industry had to learn to like readjust our
Yeah.
sales, and that's kind of one of the things that's why with a lot of the newer agents that I call them new because they came in during the crazy pandemic of all the craziness. But I'm like, don't be frustrated with yourself,
Yeah.
because there is an adjustment time that they
There
have.
is.
Honest to God, they just don't know because they were born in a very abnormal time
Yep.
in our industry. And so I really do appreciate that you're willing to take time because it just benefits the whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
know?
When we can level ourselves up in our industry, we're helping our clients. We all look better
Right.
to the public when we level ourselves up.
What are some things that from we talk about farming and we talk about branding and we talk about marketing and all these things. What are some of the things that you think, honestly, a newer realtor could put into play?
So,
I mean, yes, obviously authentically for them, but some things that these are effective.
oh, absolutely. So the main thing is, right, you got to find people that have their hand raised. I want to buy or sell a house. So one of the easiest things to do, and this has not been a part of our industry for the last couple of years because homes did not expire, but expired listings. So go back, find somebody, reach out to those homeowners. And I don't mean the guys that just expired this weekend and it's Monday and you're going to call them. You and 50 other agents are going to call them. Get back, go a year back, go 2 years back, right? Pick a neighborhood that you really like and be like, what homes did not sell in here in the last 5 years while they were listed? And reach out to those guys specifically.
That's a really good idea.
If you have a listing, market it like a farm. People talk about a farm. This is something I share that we've always done on the team. So, an agent will go and they're going to market to XYZ neighborhood and they're going to farm, and they're going to do all the things to farm that. I take it a different approach. You get a listing and you farm that listing. So you put the sign in the yard. You're going to hit 10 neighbors on one side, 10 neighbors on the other, 20 neighbors across the street. Drop them off flyers, whatever you're going to do, knock on the door. You're going to do open houses. You're going to go back through, invite them to the open house. You're hoping to get those people in front of you because the goal is to get another listing in that neighborhood, and then you do it again. Once another sign goes in the yard, you do that again.
when you sell it.
Exactly. And so now you're basically farming an actual producing neighborhood versus waiting for
Right.
somebody in there.
What would
So-
you recommend? Like, so say you just sold a house in a neighborhood. Would you recommend, do 10 doors on this side, 10 doors on the other, and tell them like, hey, I just sold your neighbor's house?
Yeah, I would go in there and I'd be like, hey, Lori, I just put your neighbor's home on the market. This is what the price is for. This is what's going on in your neighborhood. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm not going to ask you, do you want to sell your house? Right?
Yeah.
Or
Not
if you have
gonna
any
do that.
friends that want to be your neighbor.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to get my
you're,
friends
You're
to move
coming
next
from
door to me.
contribution, right?
a good idea.
And then I'm going to have an open house there because you can do that now because they're
Yeah.
setting just a smidge, not a lot, but a smidge. And you're going to invite them again because what do they say? Statistically, it takes 7 no's to get a yes. Well, if you go out there and you say, just listen to this house and you never speak to those people again, what are the chances of converting them?
Yeah.
I
But
like that 7 no's to get a yes.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean like in a conversation. That could literally mean multiple conversations. I may have 7 conversations with this person before they say, come and look at my house and tell me what you think the price is. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm used to rejection, so that's pretty fun. 7 no's to a yes. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, moving forward. And we can edit that at any point in time. Okay, so as people are farming, what are some things to keep in mind?
You have to be really, really knowledgeable. So if you're going to farm a neighborhood, you better be looking at every single house that's ever listed while you're farming that neighborhood. So if a home goes on the market, you need to go look at that house.
Okay.
You need to know everything on there. You need to be able to talk about that neighborhood in depth at any given time. And that just is that prep work.
Okay.
So if you're farming it, you really got to do more than just send out postcards. You got to be really familiar with it.
And familiar with the people and building their trust and them get used to seeing you and things like that.
Exactly.
And that's really important.
Yeah.
And if you do it right, you do these mini farms like I'm talking about, and you get a few signs in the yards and you're working it, now you farm that entire neighborhood. Right?
Yeah.
So
what you're saying is it's not easy. You just have to be intentional and have a plan.
yeah.
I don't think anything
do
in real estate is easy. I really don't. I think that that's the misconception people have, thinking, you know, that realtors are sitting by the pool, eating bonbons and drinking mimosas all day and selling houses. Like they actually work they do work.
Yeah.
And it's hard work. And I think that, I mean, from just the things I see, there is a lack of knowledge that's knowledge that you can actually implement.
Right.
Like real life, here's the deal, here's what you need to do.
Right.
That aren't aged out.
Yeah.
Because we are in a different market than we probably have seen. As far as when you talk about social media, different types of marketing, there's such a huge shift in what's 5 years ago is not
Absolutely.
working. Not necessarily, but consistency.
Consistency is the key, and repetitiveness. So we had an agent on the team, and he was really struggling. This was a few years ago. He was really struggling and needed to either get something going or he was going to have to leave the business. And I said, well, you know, what do you want to do? What are your thoughts? He said, I want to go after for sell by owners. Okay, great. Me personally, that's never been a strength area necessarily. I always preferred expireds over sell by owners, but I said, hey, let's do this. So the biggest thing, and this worked because by month 2, he was 10,000 under contract, 10,000 in GCI under contract. By month 3, so basically he was getting, he'd worked himself up to $10,000 a month in commission within a 3-month period. And it was a process. So again, a system, right? And being intentional. And it wasn't just, I'm going to call for sell by owner. So there was several steps. Again, get to that 7-point touch plan, even if, you know, it's different things. So he would do, you know, he would reach out to him. He would send him a thank you card. He would tour the house. He would then put a sign near the neighborhood, you know, ironically, right? Just so that they're seeing that. Like there was this whole plan that went with it. And when he worked that plan, by month 2, the money started rolling in.
Wow.
So I would say multiple touches, really intentional, and whatever that happens to be. It could be anything. It could be for sale by owners, expireds. It could be farming neighborhood. It could be getting to know multiple new construction salespeople because they always have leads, right?
Oh, wow.
So
that's like a whole thing too.
Yeah. So if you know, they're talking to buyers all the time or sellers that maybe their home product isn't the right fit for them, price point wise, or maybe they are going to buy a home, but they have no realtor attached to help them sell their home. So being in touch with new construction home people is a really good opportunity.
But what if, just because I don't know the answer, but what if like the new construction people, they have a real estate license? So are they?
Not always.
Okay.
Not always. As a matter of fact, most of them don't.
Okay.
The builders, most of the bigger builders especially, don't want that liability attached to them. Okay. So they may have somebody who lists their homes, but the salespeople are, in general, usually not licensed agents.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's ask them first, are you licensed?
No, yeah.
I'm kidding.
Just go in there and see treat it like a client. How can I help you?
Yeah.
I know you want to sell homes. How can I help you sell your homes? And by helping them, you know, they're going to know that you're a reliable and professional person, and they're going to feel, you know, confident passing somebody on to you that needs help in that process.
So you've been in it 20 years, right? Of your career, what have you struggled with the most, you personally?
Oh, that's a good question.
This is why I love when you ask questions.
What did I struggle with the most? Probably the financials. Probably the financials.
Explain, what do you mean?
Like
You got to run this like a business, right? If I get 100 agents in this room, I would guarantee 80% of them don't have an LLC, aren't running P&L reports, things like this. They're just kind of, letting the money come in and hoping it all works out in the end.
Yeah.
So being really intentional with that is probably the hardest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you get hit with because you're 1099, as an
Yeah.
agent.
Yeah.
You're not paying your taxes unless you actually are set it up where you're quarterly
Right.
paying and stuff.
Right.
Then you get hit with like a $20,000 tax bill
It
at the end
happens
of
a
the
lot.
year.
It happens a lot in this
It does
industry.
happen.
It's a
a
rude
lot.
awakening.
Unfortunately. So that, being intentional with that and it goes back to skill sets, right? That wasn't a huge skill set for me. So I had to develop it and I had to work really hard. I hired a personal coach in business to help walk me through that for a while. And then really dug in because it needs to be done. It has to be done. If not, you don't necessarily know where you're going on a financial level.
Yeah.
How can you scale it if we're not really sure what those numbers look like?
So you were good at the job,
Yeah.
getting it done.
Well, I was
growing a
good at growing the business, hiring agents, training agents, coaching agents, and really helping people flourish. My business partner, he was better on that side of it. You know what I mean? So for me, I've always been a collaborative person. I like to be in partnerships. I like to be on teams. I like to be in that type of environment. I just feel I thrive better that way. So
And it's also what we talked about. I mean, leveraging out
Yeah.
your weak spots.
you
so you're
got to
not
leverage
having
out
to-
your weaknesses. Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite thing about real estate?
I would say that probably helping people be successful in this business. I'm really passionate because number one, I'm helping people achieve their goals, but I'm also helping through them by proxy Americans through the dream of home ownership.
Yeah.
So I can't sell thousands of homes. I mean, I guess I could if I didn't sleep or eat or do anything else, but I can definitely impact other people, and those people can impact other people.
For sure. And you can dynamically shift where they're headed. Because
Yeah.
if they're, I mean, it does discourage me to some degree when I hear agents going, I'm so frustrated, I want to quit. I'm like, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Why are you frustrated? Where are you at? And helping navigate a plan with them just so they can not be frustrated. I'm like, don't quit. You worked your tail off to get a license. Now some people I would strongly encourage that they quit.
Yeah, ask yourself
Some
that
people
question.
should not be in real estate.
Yeah, ask
but-
yourself that question. Do you really want to do this?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, then, what does that look like? How do we make that work?
Because I had a really good friend, has become a really good friend of mine. And there was a huge point of contention during a conversation with time. And I'm like, what is going on, dude? And he's like, I hate this. Like, I really hate all of this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you hate in everything?
just
like,
burned out. You're
Right.
just burned out a
And
little bit.
the thing is you're burned out. It's been less than a year of, maybe 2 years tops at having a license.
Yeah.
But when the reality of the market hit and it wasn't just a free for all, there became a lot of frustration and a lot of like, wait, I'm not passionate. And that's what we had to come to the realization of is this industry definitely requires you to be passionate.
Yeah.
And that was not this person's passion. This person's passion was something else. And so I'm like, well, let's just flip the script and let's go do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And helping that person navigate to where now they're doing some real estate, but it's not going to be their primary source of income.
Right.
It is a secondary source of income, like for his close friends or families or whatever. But I think that's
we
a lot of
talked
it.
about too that this business, you get your license, and people in the industry, people outside of the industry, let me say, think that the only thing that you can do is sell real estate. Right. And honestly, there are so many avenues in this industry, and it doesn't just mean by helping people buy and sell real estate. It could be on the transaction side. It could be on the support side. It could be, photography. It could be so many different things. What is that passion and what does that look like, right? So if somebody loves marketing, but they hate talking to clients, or somebody loves talking to clients and they hate paperwork, you know what I mean? So
there's so many different
there really
places
is
you can go. And then
places you can go.
even when people get burnt out and they're like, I want to do something different, there's still other, whether it be insurance, whether it's okay, you're fascinated by numbers and you like numbers more than people, then you can go into processing or learning about mortgage. Like there is so many options, which is why I really do wish that like as a whole, like vocationally in high school, that they would talk about the opportunity of real estate to children, like to these kids who maybe college isn't their option. Maybe, they think the only thing they could do is, work at the local grocery store or the local fast food joint, because they don't understand, number one, where to go, how to start.
Right.
And the industry as a whole, like, hey, you're really good in math, you've been great in algebra, whatever, and giving them the tools to know real estate has a door for you. I wish that there was more of that in our high schools, especially.
Absolutely.
Because it is a lucrative career if you know it's there and you're trained and you execute properly. Yeah. There are a lot of people making a lot of money in real estate.
There is. And, it's easy to get in your head. It's easy when you've had a rough week. Maybe it's a rough market. You've had a rough day, on top of all of it. And you're just like, I cannot do this one more day. And I would always say to my agents, you know what, you can quit tonight. You can go to work for McDonald's tonight, but tomorrow you're back at it, right? So have that mindset. All right, I give this up for tonight. And then in the morning, you just feel so much better. Just like let it go.
Right.
Yeah. And because you're going to think about that and you're going to be thinking, I don't want to work at McDonald's. I don't want to do that.
I don't want to be stuck at 9 to 5, somebody telling me what I'm doing, but in real estate, you better hustle like it's 9 to 5.
Well, that's the thing. And I think that's a huge lie and misconception that realtors are fed in real estate school. You are your own boss. You are not required to do anything that they want you to do. You set your own schedule, so much freedom and time. But in reality, like that if you want to be successful, that is not the formula.
Right. Because I'm like, hey, Christy, it's Sunday at 4:00 and it's 24 degrees. Can we go look at a house in the middle of nowhere? And she's going to have to be like, yes or no. Like, how much do you want to work? And so it is a misconception, because I'm like, you guys really do work your tails off. Yeah. You've got, LOs out there or mortgage lenders who are working on stuff into the wee hours of the night, sitting there putting people's loans together because of X, Y, and Z. You've got, your title. I'm like, no, this is more like a 24-hour job. Yeah. We're like doctors, basically.
And I love a vacation as much as everybody else, right? Yeah. But honestly, my best vacations are business trips. So I'm really big about like continuing growth and education. So I haven't missed a family reunion from Keller Williams or Mega Camp in decades, or a decade at least, or any of the main training I'm going to go to. Because so what I know for me is when I go to these things, I'm going to take 5 days, I'm going to go to this training, I come back pumped. I come back ready to go, and I'm relaxed, and I had a good time. If I go and I do a regular vacation where I'm like, no work, it's turned off, I come back and it's taking me like 5 days to get back into it.
And super stressed out.
Yeah. So I would rather vacation on a business trip all year round than, go not. It's just easier to get back into it.
What books are you reading? What's on your top list?
So right now I'm rereading Traction. Okay. And that actually came from Jason Nadrava.
Who is brilliant, by the way.
Yes, he is. I'm getting through The Creature from Jekyll Island again, which is a huge, huge read about the Federal Reserve and just the banking industry. And wow.
That kind of stuff fascinates me. Yeah. What's that called?
The Creature from Jekyll Island. It's kind of scary, but good.
Interesting.
Yeah, it sounds scary. What are you reading? You got a book?
Dude, I average about 0.7 books a year, sadly.
Oh, you gotta break those. Those are Ricky numbers, Trent. You gotta get those numbers up.
I'm not really good at numbers, but that doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
So switch to audiobooks. I put this on Facebook the other day.
I kind of have.
Yeah, I said if you're not a reader, just do the audiobook thing while you're driving down the street. Yeah.
If you can listen to the radio and people talking and really bad commercials, you can listen to an audiobook, bruh. Yeah. One of mine that I'm on right now is The Power of One. Mm-hmm. I'm loving it. A friend of mine actually recommended it to me, and like #obsessed. Great book.
I love that. The Power of One.
Yeah. What's the premise? It's basically, in a nutshell, it talks about how, like, number one, your mindset is everything. Mm-hmm. So it's the power of one more. What is your one more? Is it one more rep at the gym, or is it one more alcoholic beverage? Is it one more fight with your spouse, or one more opportunity to communicate?
Nice.
Like how you start your one more, and you can accomplish any goal by just doing one more. So for me at my house, it's just me and the kids. And so it's like, okay, clean just one more room at a time.
Right.
So if I do my bedroom, okay, do the closet with it. Do the closet, then I automatically go into the laundry room because they're
Right.
attached. So now it's like they're done.
Yeah.
And so it's just talking about really getting your mindset to shift into that space. And also one of the things that we were
It's
talking
doable.
about, it's very doable
Yeah.
when it's just one more.
Yeah.
And I find myself actually doing it like at the gym, you know, the stair climber is my favorite / the worst thing ever. But it's like adding time to it. So it's like, okay, you can just do 1 more minute. Well, then once I do that, I'm like, okay, but you can just do 1 more minute. And before I know it, I'm at 20 minutes and it's
Yeah.
not that bad
Yeah.
because it's 1 minute at a time
Right.
versus trying to take a bite of the big piece.
Right. Right.
So making it bite size, if you will.
Yes.
So you're just conditioning your brain to like,
Yeah, because they're talking about how our brain naturally goes into negative spaces so easy compared to positive. Like out of all the thoughts that you have in a day, most of those are going to be negative.
Yeah.
Whether it's about yourself, about someone else, about how your day is, about the annoying person in the drive-through line, like whatever it is. And you have to genuinely, which is really kind of sad and really discouraging in some ways, but you have to start conditioning your mind to stay positive.
Absolutely.
So it's like every
Absolutely.
negative thing you have, you should be forcing yourself to think 3
Yeah.
positive things after that.
I agree. It is a conditioning. And, you know, that's the thing is that we will go into the gym and we will train our bodies and we'll do these things, but we don't think about that with our brain, right? That in order to meet and exceed your own potential, like what does that look like? What does that
Right.
growth look like? What does that work look like on that? And I agree 100%.
You know, I at one point in my life, when I was going through a divorce, it was really rough, and my company put me through a training called Bold. It's through Keller Williams, and I went, and I was not probably in the best mindset. Obviously, with the situation I was going through, was a little bit extra, but we were challenged to do 100 calls in one day.
dang.
In one day.
Bold
Because
100.
I mean, yeah, because I wanted the pin. Like I'm competitive and I want a pin. Like it was yes, that's what I want.
Right.
And so I remember forcing myself, you know, into the room and going, okay, I'm going to make these 100 calls. Like I'm going to make this happen. Well, instead of like the realtors, they would have to call like client people, FSBOs, expires, whatever. I had to call real estate agents. And let me first tell you, there is nothing worse than having to cold call real estate agents because it's their game. And
Right.
so they're like, what are you doing? Like, what is happening here? However, the first few, I was like, oh, this isn't going to. And then it's like I had to make a cognitive effort to go, you know what? I'm going to get through this list and get as many.
Yeah.
I'm going to get through the no so I can hit my yes.
Yep.
And I'm
Yeah.
not kidding. What happened was magic. I called this number and I hear this friendly gentleman on the other side and was so nice to me. He had just gotten his license because I did it the smart way and got, you know, the
New
list.
people.
Oh, I know
yeah.
who this
yeah,
is.
Yeah.
And so I called this agent and I'm like, hello, James. And he's like, this is James Sumter. I'll just give his last name. It's fine. And let me tell you, we have been friends since that day.
Really?
Because he was so kind to me and he was like the yes that made me keep going.
Aw.
Do you know what I mean? And
That's
so like
sweet.
so much of a yes. I hung up the phone after talking with him and I called his broker and I'm like, this guy is absolutely one of the most kindest people like in the universe. But it pushed me. And after that, I was like, oh, I've got this.
Yeah.
I'm going to meet some great people. And do you know, once I got out of that space, I was able to lock in meeting
Yeah.
after meeting after meeting with all of these great, amazing
Right.
realtors.
Right.
But it took that moment of someone validating almost
Yeah.
and going, hey, you got this.
You unleashed yourself from that.
Girl.
Yeah.
So now when people are like, you want to call 100 people? I'm like, let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll make 100 friends today.
Well, and of all people, real estate agents should be very sympathetic to
They're
someone
usually,
cold calling. They should be. They
I
should be.
mean, yes.
They should be.
I would like them to be, but sometimes people are busy and sometimes people have their own things and it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. You know, my first job was in telemarketing. I actually tried to.
Yikes.
And it was. I actually did pretty good. I was 15. I was doing 2 free week memberships to a gym, and when they came in, I would get a bonus every time. I still remember that script to this day. But I'll tell you what, I've made thousands and thousands and thousands of sales calls in my lifetime, and the first 5 are always doesn't matter. The first 5, you're like, oh, nervous, and then you just got to get through that.
Yeah. Just get them out of the way.
Just get in the zone. Get in
Yeah.
the zone. You know, yeah. call your friend or your family, call somebody else first.
Yeah.
And throw them the speech and then get on the phone. But yeah, get past that and do that.
What I realize now about calling people is it really comes off in your own delivery. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think then I was probably a lot more scared and intimidated.
Sure.
Whereas now I'm like, hey, what's going on?
Right.
How's your business? Because really at this point, I'm like, are you guys okay? Is my realtor friends okay? Are my lenders okay? Are people in this industry okay? If not, like, is there something I can do to make your day a little bit better?
Right.
So my intention has now shifted because now it's like I see a lot of people really stressed out.
Yeah.
And scared and frustrated. And so for me, I'm more worried and concerned, like, are you good?
Well, I'm concerned too about the really good agents. And by good agents, I mean the people that care about what they're doing. They care about the clients. And when those guys call me and they say, you know, I'm really struggling and I'm not really sure what to do, and we talk about all of that, I make sure to tell them, guys, you can't leave this business because we need you. We need you in this industry. We need good people like you in this industry, you know, to help buyers and sellers.
What
through
are
the
some of their
homeowner,
fears? Like,
homeownership.
what are some of their frustrations?
It's
for
what you're talking
seasoned?
about.
Okay.
Newer people, you know, that have been in that are just trying to figure it out because maybe they came in the last couple of years and they didn't have to deal with a normal market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Do you see just the different generations of people that have bought houses? You've been in 20 years, so you've seen a couple different generations starting to buy houses.
Yeah.
What do you think of the kids buying houses nowadays? Or are you kind of out of that right now?
No, not necessarily. I see that too. I think that
Because I've kind of heard that people used to live in a house for 30, 40 years.
that was like way long ago though. So
I mean, how old do you think she is, bro?
30.
When I got into real estate in the early 2000s, the average time in a home was 5 years.
Okay.
And then 5 to 6 years. And then it went down to 3 around 2019. And I think we're going to see that go back up again because of those low interest rates. But I see that they're actually pretty educated. You know, they're educating themselves. They're looking for somebody to give them good guided advice. And they're not willing to be sold, i.e. pushed.
Yeah.
So
they're very aware.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So if it's, you know, every 2 or 3 years people are in and out of houses, it's probably a good idea to stay top of mind with that transaction because they're probably going to be moving and selling and buying again.
I always call them clients for life. And how do you make them clients for life? Well,
that's how the snowball works.
Yeah, exactly. Getting, you know, talking to them constantly, helping them out when they need it, you know, and being available. It could be anything, guys. It could be, oh, you need a new fence? I got a fence guy. Let me see you do stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Has
Be the
nothing to
biggest
do.
resource for them.
Exactly. Be
And
the biggest
friend.
resource.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. That's probably like the number one takeaway for today is in all you do. I don't think it's necessarily just in real estate, but in all you do, be the biggest resource for the network around you. Like, be that.
Yeah.
Know this person who knows that person. Like, reach out your branch. Stop keeping it to yourself like it's a big secret. My goodness. Help other businesses grow and be a resource to people. People will come to you and ask you the questions like, hey, do you know someone who does boat, flooring replacement? And I'm like, I do actually. Stand by.
Exactly.
Now, I don't have anyone who owns a yacht or has a yacht. So if you are hearing this and you own or have a yacht, I would like to know you too. Just kidding. Just kidding. Well, I appreciate your time and I appreciate you. And thank you for all you're doing for our industry.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you for your years of service in the industry and continuous. You're not quitting. We won't let you go anywhere. But thank you for helping our industry continue to grow and navigate.
Yeah. I'm trying.
Christi Gillentine, y'all. Thank you for being at Tulsa Uncut.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Your podcast, 918.
So Oklahoma Real Estate Radio is the podcast. 918 Agents Coaching Community on Facebook. If you just want to get in there and get some free advice and free direction.
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time. Bye.